Hi, welcome to my second video called Dragonflies and Parallel Universes. It's my hope that you're feeling blessed and that today, in this moment, you're able to see the goodness that exists inside of you. Seeing ourselves and the world through the eyes of gratitude is a huge upgrade for our perceptions, and it creates an upgrade in our lives. But gratitude for our inner world and gratitude for our inner self goes one level deeper. And it's more fulfilling than gratitude only for the things and the people and the experiences that we enjoy in our outer world. So it's my hope that you find true gratitude for who you are. I am Amy Brooke. I am a hypnotherapist and a coach. In a spiritually trying time of my life, when I felt very disconnected from religion and spirituality in general, due to confusion and lack of safety that came in the form of gaslighting, which we'll touch on later, I was taken by the hand by a very loving God and taught to see the spiritual journey that I was on through different eyes. There is an entire story written in pattern and metaphor right in front of us, recorded in nature and recorded by nature. When my eyes were open to it, I began to understand myself and my experiences, and I began to develop the kind of trust that flora and fauna have in their experiences here on this earth. Because for my entire life, I had looked around me for examples of true, deep trust and faith. And when I failed to see it, I believed it wasn't possible to live and to love effortlessly. But when I began to understand that I could look to nature for her examples of faith and trust, my life was changed in glorious ways. Speaking of nature, there is a blood moon / lunar eclipse in our near future, and it may be shaking our lives up some. And because of that, I want to speak to how we can look to nature to stay grounded in faith and trust. And we're going to do that today by looking at a dragonfly. Going back to the beginning of recorded religious history, there's a story of two people who lived in utopia. Without going into too much detail, I'd like us to look at a couple of adjectives that we could use to describe the Garden of Eden. First, easy, and the second, effortless. After events made staying and enjoying the ease of the garden impossible, the couple were introduced to easy and effortless's opposite, hard work. I realize that this is a gross oversimplification, and much more could be said about these two places or perceptions of the world. But the simplicity of looking at it from this perspective allows us to lay that template of those two polar opposites, right? Those two parallels, opposite parallels, by laying the template over our own lives and asking ourselves this question: which of these two realities am I living as if it is the true nature of the world? Because when we look close, nature still works in the ways of ease and effortlessness. How much effort does a flower put into being seen, noticed, praised, or accepted? None. And how much angst does a flower experience that grows on a mountainside, where it will never be seen, nor noticed, nor appreciated? Does it grow with less beauty and enthusiasm? No, not at all. It doesn't. Nature exists and enjoys an existence that is independent of anything outside of itself. When we compare ourselves to that flower, our codependent perspectives become more apparent, don't they? There is one creature that comes to mind as we speak to this idea of parallel perspectives or parallel universes. A dragonfly is hatched from an egg in the water. It lives as a nymph, growing and molting many times in a cycle until it reaches a level of maturity that requires it to metamorphosize completely, to essentially become a new creature. Like the butterfly, which passes through a similar process, the dragonfly literally has to change its identity. But unlike the butterfly, it also has to leave behind its surroundings, its way of life, its home, everything it has ever known, and rise to a different universe with different laws made of an entirely different substance. The image this creates for me and the path it shows me for my own life is breathtaking. And maybe it helps you see yours more clearly too. And this is why I love to look to nature for truth. Let's look a little bit deeper about how this applies to us in our lives. One universe we can have faith in is the one of struggle and hardship and not enoughness. This is the world that you have to prove your value in, the one in which you have to work hard against all odds because everything is working against you. This is the world of dog eat dog. The other universe we can have faith in is the one of ease and effortlessness. Of course, work is always involved, but a kind of work that believes that all of the world is working with us, so that all efforts are met with contribution from outside of us. In this world, success is inevitable. Happiness and fulfillment are inevitable, not prizes to fight for. This is the world of Wu Wei. Because of nature's perfect expressions of faith, excuse me, there are not nymphs that doubt their dragonfly selves and remain nymphs for life. But this is not true of humans. We lack faith in ourselves. We lack faith that our experiences are just as they should be. And something happens and we get stuck in eddies along the river of life, going around in circles, not really progressing, but staying stuck in the cycles of struggle. So we have these two differing perspectives of the world, of our experience, and choosing which one we ascribe to, which one we're going to live faithfully in, which one we're going to act as if it's true, is a powerful choice we get to make. And how does it happen? In the beginning, with the story of Adam and Eve, they were in one universe, left it, and came to another one, right? And for us, how does this happen to where we think we live in one world and then eventually realize we live in another? Gaslighting. We are being gaslit all the time, and we have from birth. We're gaslit to believe there aren't enough resources, that there isn't enough fulfillment, and that love is conditional. We're gaslit to believe that we have to attain a certain level to get what we really want. We're gaslit to believe that perpetual struggle should be expected, and that dreams are for dreamers, not for everyday people like you and I. We're gaslit to see one universe, the one that keeps us small, the one that keeps us from fulfilling our potential. This is the reality of living in a life, living in a world that lacks faith. Do you know that from birth to around the age of 7, you were hypnotized? All children are, as they've not developed the parts of the brain that are necessary to make consciousness a possibility. This is why we consistently find ourselves and everyone around us going back to childhood to heal our childhood wounds. Because in childhood, we are left completely open to suggestions from the outside world. We didn't have the filters to discern between truth and untruth. So from a hypnotherapy perspective, there's a subtle difference between teaching and gaslighting. Teaching is information given to the conscious mind so that the student or learner can allow the information to pass through a filter or a truth checker. Teaching allows for discernment in the student. But gaslighting is different. Gaslighting is information given in times of high stress confusion, or in childhood with the sole purpose of bypassing that filter, essentially taking away agency. Bypassing that filter, making it possible for the information to be adopted by the mind without the aid of the filter. So essentially, gaslighting is a form of hypnotic suggestion. And just to avoid confusion, let me point out that there are ethical hypnotic suggestions that are very different from gaslighting. Gaslighting is given for the purpose of subtle manipulation. Ethical hypnotic suggestion is given only upon the request of the subject for the purpose of growth and change, which essentially allows the subject to overcome obstacles, change belief systems, and expand into a fuller version of themselves. In my opinion, the most beautiful lesson that nature teaches us over and over again is independence and autonomy. Down to the smallest detail, nature lives out its purpose independent of our opinions or our approval. It lives for its own fulfillment, and that fulfillment adds something of value to you and to me and to the world as a whole. The idea of two parallel universes as taught by the life of a dragonfly is powerful, and one could argue for the reality of both worlds. But the one that exists to the dragonfly is the one that it is in, which begs the question, which one are you in? I'm grateful for the blessing to have connected with you today. I hope that your perspective has been fine-tuned and your desire to live in faith and truth and authenticity has been augmented. You can connect with me personally on my Facebook group, Blessings Amy Brooke, or you can visit my website at www.blessingsamybrook.com. Be well, be loved, be blessed.